Borderlands 2 has 87 bazillion different guns, 3 million class mods, about 1,000 or so relics, and an ungodly amount of shields in the game. There's a lot of equipment to loot, and I don't really care what anybody's opinion on the matter is, the shield is the most vital aspect of all your equipment. And that's why I decided to take it away and subject myself to a lifetime of torment, or roughly 14 hours or so. Let's give it a go. Played enough Borderlands 2 over the years to deduce that I probably could have chosen a better character, but there are worse choices overall, and I've been dying to play Zero one more time. His earliest skill, Deception, allows him to completely vanish from all aggro on the field for 5 seconds, long enough to run away like the scared child I am whenever the smell of metal starts lingering. Because Zero is a number, I made sure he had a fitting nickname and began the game. I woke up in some barren wasteland in the Pandora of the Borderlands, with the unicycled robot looting the corpses of my former friends that I totally remember the names of, while Claptrap is spouting random nonsense in the background and giving me things since he'll never amount to a true vault hunter. I'll explain how this challenge works. Like it implies in the title, I cannot use a shield at any point throughout the run. Should I manage to come across a shield of any kind, regardless of rarity, I must leave it behind and progress forward. If a mission's reward is a shield, I must drop it immediately since it auto-equips. Other equipment such as grenades, relics, and class mods are optional and will be used in this challenge. I've asked this question for 5 years now, but why couldn't the one functional Claptrap be this Tuxedo Claptrap? It's a travesty that they teased us like this. Justice for Tuxedo Claptrap. Get it trending and send it to Gearbox. Even after losing his eyeball, Claptrap agrees with me by rushing over to the first Tuxedo Claptrap in the vicinity. Borderlands 4. Give me one small side quest. Do it, Gearbox. As soon as enemies began piling on our dearest Clappy Boy Trapster III Esquire, I bailed out of there because I'm clearly not ready to face the nearby threats. I have a yellow sniper. That should say enough. I went to another place, opened a door, got a couple levels for opening a door, and ripped apart any and everything that stood trying to take away my joy in life. Let's not talk about Knuckle Dragger, because nobody else does anyway. Let's talk, however, about the handsome jackass who put $1 million bounty on my head, simply because I'm a self-proclaimed vault hunter. Clap Cheeks was taking too long to open the gate, so I simply vaulted over a nearby wall and made several clones appear, but the XP was oh so good. I will never doubt Trap Clap's abilities again, as he willingly sacrificed himself so that somebody else could pound into his socket. Hammerlock attempted to grant me his leftover shield from his very first Pandora playthrough. That got me very upset, so I spit on it and threw it back in his face. I think he likes me. Laprap's mission suggested I be at level 5, so I've delved into what would become the bane of my existence, optional missions. If it were my choice, I'd simply walk up to Handsome Jack in the Box and blow his brains out, but seeing as though he's probably at least 9.5 times ahead of me in levels, I would only take out 12 of his health. Don't ask me why I accepted a mission to literally buy the thing I'm actively trying to avoid. My intelligence and strategy are roughly the same level as a suicide psycho. It's better for everybody if you forget the last 22 words I just said. Do not press J on your keyboard. Do not rewind on your mobile device. Although if you have a smart refrigerator and you have access to the World Wide Web, which you do because you're watching this video right now, then I suggest you watch this video again on the smart refrigerator. Some bullies allowed me to reach my 5th birthday, and I unlocked my action skills. Because I was now 5 years old, I could deceive anybody I want, stick a live grenade in their pocket, and walk away nobody the wiser. It's called deception. Make sure you see that the O in deception is instead a 0. That is meta as f***. Wait, am I allowed to say meta anymore, or is Mark Zuckerberg, the alien lizard cyborg that he is, gonna sue me for libel? All I can give him is 3 Snickers bars and 0 f***s as compensation. Perhaps the ugly Jack will give me those pretzels that apparently suck as well.
These pretzels suck.
Boom Boom met his Doom, and I still somehow have not died yet. Keyword is died. I've went down more times than I care to talk about, and how Flint came to be the captain amongst all the marauders and psychos that fell beforehand is beyond me. My life was finally taken from this world, and because I'm playing as the video game protagonist, of course I respawn at the last checkpoint. The condescending voice behind the new U station can honestly piss off. I don't need to continuously hear about how great handsome Jack Daniels is, or the fact that my new body is just a digital reconstruction of my old body that refuses to let my soul move on to a better place. My blade turned itself off on this guy, Flint met steel and suffered the consequences, and Borderlands 2 continues to laugh in my face. Fun by receiving no gun. Funny. The near endless supply of bullies and bandits were no match for my very basic looking pistol as I continued to do Handsome Jackie's dirty work and cleanse this planet of all the filth littered everywhere. By the time I got in there, I was almost at the age of 9, the exact time where the rebellious streak of Rambo rambunctious children everywhere begins. Having the first number in my level be 0 made me want to cry, so I took care of that right quick, and with my earnings, I gambled it all away. $2,000 of life savings, and all I got to show for it was a live grenade that flew out of the machine. Frostburn Canyon was home to the Firehawk, and she threatened to unleash nuclear weapons of mass destruction all across Pandora unless I showed up. I wish that were true, as that would have been incredibly awesome, but sadly it wasn't the case. Speaking of cases, what a segue that was. A loot midget somehow hid in this thing and dropped a legendary pistol that for some reason has fists in its name. Despite being 3 levels lower than my own, it absolutely kicked ass against anything that decided to wake up this morning and make noise. And believe me, I like noise. I have tinnitus, for God's sake. But talking about dying and complaining how angry you are is not very good white noise. Blood-curdling screams emanating from the opposition of myself and Lilith, aka the Firehawk, is also pretty terrible white noise, but not everything can be lo-fi, I suppose. Oh, and while Lilith doesn't have any WMDs anywhere, she herself practically is one, so the badass psycho stood 0 chance. Lilith is not the protagonist anymore, so it's up to me to rescue the future Kevin Hart from prison. Yes, in the future Borderlands movie, this guy is supposed to be played by fucking Kevin Hart. Roland himself is allergic to jokes, hates comedy, and hasn't laughed since he was 4 years old. I should point out that throughout every mission I go through, I'm dying bare minimum 4 times, so pardon me if details about how the copy of the copy of the copy of the original body gets scarce. Take your mind off that and watch me gamble some more. According to Kevin Hart himself, his spy out in the Tundra Express gets off by the sound of ignited Varkids and will absolutely wake up once enough for calling his name. Mordecai was the spy here, and hey, if you get excited in more ways than one about flaming bugs, that's your thing, I don't judge. His best friend forever is a bird, so anything is possible. To this day, I'm still debating on whether to be horrified or not that living about 100 feet below the tower of the man whose BFF is a screeching vermin with wings lies the batshit crazy psychopath named Tiny Tina. Our first impression of the deranged lunatic is spontaneous combustion aimed at some nameless psycho, so she's already good in my book. Fetching some items that she calls badonkadonks only further encapsulates my newfound respect for the world's deadliest 13-year-old. Launching the badonkadonks stirred up some feelings inside of me, feelings that, unfortunately, will never be described in the YouTube cut because YouTube would do YouTube things and most likely nuke this video faster than it would take me to get a 25 kill streak in Modern Warfare 2. This is why I fucking bleep out shit, because the assholes running the algorithms on this fucking website don't like when I say shit. Sorry, I just had to get it all out there. It's healthy, you should try it sometime. Despite being level 15, Wilhelm being level 16, and my constant need to level up proving dividends, the lack of a corrosive weapon really has not come into play much, considering this electric pistol, even 8 levels lower than our 15-foot cyborg friend over there, is still winning fights everywhere I go. Go figure, though, that the super pretty AI who's been helping us for seemingly no reason whatsoever was secretly working for handsome Jackie Wells. The solution to the bombardment, courtesy of the giant H in the sky, teleport the entire city somewhere else, only with me not in it because we have to fill up main mission time and unlock a new area. The fridge was filled with mole rats that were about as tough as level 1 bullymongs. I did not have any trouble dealing with them whatsoever. Not having a shield isn't even a challenge at this point. Sanctuary had no fast travel, good going Lilith, and because actions have consequences, we have stalkers on us because why not? Our quest item today was a lunar supply beacon. Somehow setting up a new fast travel grants us access back to Sanctuary. The only thing standing in my way were this constructor, whose ass I kicked, and this thresher, who kicked my ass. It wasn't enough that it was already a level above me, but it also had a seemingly infinite amount of tentacles waiting to bash my brains out if I got too close. So I took matters into my own hands and back to the bane of my existence to acquire some more levels. More fucking side quests. The best way I figured to do that was by fighting a giant snowman named the Abominable Mr. Tinder Snowflake. He looked so sad when I knocked off his little hat. Of course, it tried to give me a piece of purple equipment that shall not be named. I farmed Mr. Snow Tinder a couple more times, got to 20, finally got a couple of weapons that were above level 8, and suddenly the Thresher wasn't nearly as difficult. The secret to succeeding in video games like this is just over-leveling until everything else bows to your every need. When this gun loader didn't get me a sandwich, this was the consequence. Overlook was quite a quaint little town with a population of me. I kept the ammo machine alive, and handsome Jackoff even sent down some toys so I wouldn't feel lonely. Has anyone else ever questioned what it cost for that giant letter in the sky to send down a robot? Jackass solemnly swore to send everything he had down to kill me, yet right at the bottom of the hill was another new U station. Did it never occur to him to just simply turn off all the new use stations so that when I do inevitably die because my health recovers abysmally slow, that I would stay dead? It's simply pragmatic thinking. Then again, Jack laughs back at a story of his where he scoops out someone's eyeballs with a spoon. I doubt there's a pragmatic or sympathetic bone in his body, but whatever. After finding my way back to Far From No Way Homecoming, I threw Moxie a lot of money because Moxie just has really nice guns that she gives you, should you give her enough cash anyway. I mean, I needed a better corrosive weapon, so this is optimum for the time being. Angel gave us instructions to walk through a death wall, fight an armory with enough firepower to level a continent, and open a door impossible to open anyway. So, you know, just video game protagonist type shit. Nothing I can't handle. I've already gotten this far without a shield. What's a death wall anyway? Clappy Boy Jr. software was out of date, and it just so happens that on that next update gives him capabilities to masquerade as a Hyperion overlord. Maybe I'll start calling him by his actual name if he proves useful throughout all this.
No, probably not.
The issue being is that, for whatever reason, Mordecai's best bird friend forever, Bloodwing, has that little piece of hardware. Bloodwing somehow got taken by Hyperion into the place called the Wildlife Exploitation Preserve. If that isn't the most code red, cause for disaster, tornado siren red pill type shit, then I don't know what is. Nevertheless, it set Mordecai up to be useless once again, just like in Tundra Express, while I do literally all the work saving his bird friend. I'm sorry, but a bullet from an elemental sniper rifle doing only roughly 1 16th damage isn't what I call help. I do everything in my power to make sure that I am as efficient at killing robotics as possible. Inside the preserve was a mixture of limitless machines and acid pouring from my weapon. They even tried a super badass loader for the first time. I found it rather cute while I undeniably kicked its ass. How I missed this loot loader I'll never understand, but it killed me, so that was nice. Oh, and about all those fucking skill points that just kept piling up since level 11, I finally spent them all to make me a somewhat better killing machine. Counter-Strike grants me massive melee damage, and Fearless essentially gave me more gun damage by default since this challenge has commenced. Unforeseen makes my hologram explode with shock damage, and don't forget the most important part, wherever there is O, it equates to 0. That godforsaken loot loader that I mentioned earlier, I never managed to actually kill it, and I gave up. How is it that the midget loader gave me more hell than the super badass loader? It makes zero logical sense, and my chimp brain had a meltdown during this fight. A couple of loaders separated myself and Handsome Knack's pet project. Somehow he turned a bird the size of my beanie into an enormous falcon that's infused with every element known to man. It dove at me, claws aimed to rip my eyes out of their sockets, so the safest course of action for me was putting down the rambunctious bird. My favorite method of duck hunting is not with a rifle, but rather a pistol. It's just much more satisfying shooting something so light with something that's so light. Let's not forget that explosive is also an element just as much as corrosion is. I'm gonna have some fighting words with Mordecai later because he just took down an entire battalion of loaders without hardly breaking a sweat. One shot, one kills everywhere. Why do I bother bringing him on missions if he actively refuses to support me in this manner? Someone should play around with explosives around his birds more often. On a happier note, Claptrap's birthday was today, and surprising to nobody, I was the only one that showed up. I even handed out party invitations to people, and they all had the nerve to not come. I call them a basket of ass. Don't worry, Clappy, I enjoyed your party. Cold pizza and all. Since part 1 of Operation Walk into Death Row was finished by harnessing that computer chip, it was on to part 2, Recruit the Slab King. With a name like Slab King, it's no surprise that the primary objective was to slaughter any and everything that had 2 legs, a gun in their hands, and a mouth that never shuts up. Past some common alleyways, across the bridge, beyond those fucking buzzards, and even through the hulking mass of destruction that was in the building, and even this guy, don't forget, there's always that one sarcastic SOB lurking around. Usually that's me, and that's why I hate everyone else who's similar. Brick was the undisputed Slab King. How it was conjured that a melee-focused character would suit a looter-shooter is beyond me, but at least I like Brick as an NPC. Part 2 of Operation Walk into Death Row segues into Part 3, and it involves me rushing into the cleanest city on the face of God's brown Pandora, Opportunity. Such a condescending city title considering we know what the handsome jack-off is capable of. You know you've made it in life when you can honestly have a body double, pay them to act like you all the time, and still probably forget his actual name. For the amount that Jack loves to talk, it still surprises me nearly 10 years later that actively collecting voice recordings is required for what we need to do. You're gonna tell me there's no backlog of Jack's terrible pretzels or all his anecdotes about butt stallion or scooping things with spoons? I call lies. One of the requirements for Operation Wider to be completed, yes, I'm calling it Wider, you do the math, was for me to speak in Jack's voice. No longer can I hear Zero's suave haiku, instead have to listen to a juvenile delinquent that has more money in his back pocket alone than I do in my entire bank account. Maybe this video might change that. Please subscribe if you haven't. I just want to hit 1,000 subscribers. With parts 1 through 3 finished, it was time to move on to part 4 of Wider, Getting Up the Hill. That door we sacrificed that dumb bird for came and went, and anything that attempted to stand in my path probably killed me at some point, but it didn't matter because where they have the numbers, I have the new U station and money. Not a lot of money, but enough to respawn every single time. Let's go Hyperion. The amount of autocannons, loaders, and the sheer size of the armory bunker to take care of was quite hard. I felt the exact same way if you want me to be brutally honest with you. Though hearing Brick continuously blab about ammo and mortars every 10 seconds made me want to bash my head into a wall.
The Slavs got ammo for you out on the ring. Holy rockets, look out! My Slavs can't fight with you if you don't get orders incoming. Mortar fire, take cover.
Can you shut the fuck up?
The only way to take care of that was extremely intense violence. Violence itself is very, very fun. Look at all the fun I'm having mowing down endless amount of bunker guns. And after thousands of bullets shot and too many close calls to name on my fingers, the bunker finally went night-night, spewed out its guts, and amazingly didn't offer me any illegal items. This is now my new favorite boss fight. Unfortunately, the game never ends at convenient times, and I'm forced to finish off what would be my favorite siren up to this point if Maya and Lilith did not exist. And even though this area locked me out of the outside world, my character is still a number, my gun still shoots bullets, and I am still badass. Therefore, I can confidently say that this area hardly shattered my perception of how difficult this challenge can be at times, and I thank God every day Moxie exists. I am giving her so much money when I get home. After mercilessly murdering the one person who bothered to give a shit, her vile and rambunctious father-in-law, and that's all he ever will be is an in-law, did a big no-no and murdered my best friend. Handsome jackass took Roland from me, and that hurt more than when I stepped on a Lego that one time in first grade. He also outfitted Lilith with a choke collar while she got me out of there before I failed this challenge permanently. The only reason Roland didn't respawn at the new U station about 30 feet behind me is because it happened in a cutscene, and all deaths are final in cutscenes. I'm pretty sure I've continued molding all the way up to this day because I keep putting too much faith into fictional characters staying alive, and when they don't, I lose 3 more hair follicles. With how much death there is in fictional work, I'll be out of hair come Monday morning. The next order of business was figuring out where Jack was hiding so that I can bury him up to his neck, peel his eyelids back, and leave him to fry in the desert. The aesthetic of Iridium Blight looks like my room half the time, and the plan of action of course gets blocked by a damn bridge. Brick's marvelous idea is to blow it up, so that's what we're doing. I like blowing shit up anyway. Unfortunately, I can't blow up the elevator despite it being blocked off by somebody, so instead I blow up his precious buzzard since I cannot stand these fucking things as is. I was told to look away from the explosion, so I complied with said request because looking at explosions reminds me too much of a Michael Bay film. The mortar fell to a fire weapon, the ball turret gunners died horrible deaths, and I yeeted myself off the building because it's very fun when you jump off a tall shit. With the Iron Nexus finally open, I got a sense of nostalgia here, but I honestly couldn't tell you why. The first sign of danger here practically one-tapped me, and I soon realized that going through with this death run at this point is futile unless I level up some more. That entitles more side questing and more questioning the meaning of life. Whichever side quests I did were clearly irrelevant as that footage never existed in the first place. Higher levels meant it was time to upgrade some gear and overloading some pump stations. After pumping some loaders full of ammunition and missing the pipeline by a country mile, I ran into the most ostentatious overzealous pipe dream that Jack ever created. And you bet your ass I was the winner in this fight. That's why I got 14,000 XP and a new skin. Repeating robots ran right to me as I downloaded Jack and the Warrior's location onto my floppy disk and hightailed it out of there. The innocent citizens of Sanctuary thought it would be nice to give me some gear ahead of the fight with Jack, and normally I wouldn't care and just sell it for cash, but then Zed tried to hand me this disgusting, repulsive, hideous abomination. I shot him in the face and teleported as far away from Sanctuary as I could. This was it, the final objective. I was ready to bash Jack's brains out and claim the warrior for myself before he could awaken it. I always wanted a pet, but Mom always said no. Claptrap opened the door for me, Brick and Mordecai sacrificed themselves by playing in the lava, and literally everything fell to the number. The fight with Handsome Jack, if you want to even call it that, involved a series of events, and I'll explain how they work. Jack shows up, Jack looks for the new vault, Jack gets killed. By me. You see the problem here? He's still alive. It's unfortunate my new future pet finally appeared, otherwise I would have offed Jack a long time ago. He needs to calm down first. I'm under-leveled, but there is not a snowball's chance in hell I'm going back and completing even more side quests. I either tame my new pet, or I die trying. I died trying a couple of times, so the idea of a new pet seems less appealing now. With the wrath of my armory, the lack of a shield, and myself being a contemptible survivor, I pumped that greasy-looking chest with the fury of Nick's missing eye, blew its face to hell with something called the Moonshot Cannon, and I beat Borderlands 2 without a shield. I kept trying to... God, these peanuts suck. I kept trying to convince Jack to let me have the warrior as a pet, and I'd let him go free, but he didn't want to listen. If you made it this far and enjoyed the video, press that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment Handsome Jack as an egg because it's kind of funny. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters for making videos like this one possible, and if you want your name included here at the end of the video along with some behind-the-scenes bonus content, including early drafts for thumbnails, previews for my next videos, and even the entire transcript I made for this one, head on over to my Patreon. Link is in the description. Have a good one. Peace out.